Good afternoon. We are in sunny Florida, and my name is Dr. Koval, and I'm the owner for Dr. Koval Orthodontics. We are the biggest and most experienced provider for MARPE and MSC treatment in Florida. And my question to discuss is what to expect during your first consultation with us, and what's the purpose of the consultation. So usually when you are requesting your consultation with us, that means that you already know what to expect, and you already have researched the options for expansion. And usually the first question would be, am I a good candidate for the MARPE expansion? There is no straight answer to that question, and that will be, you'll only receive an answer to that question when we gather all the necessary information and when we examine all the records, which usually consist of the records and evaluation from your clinical exam. That is the first very important step. The second would be taking the extraoral and intraoral photographs. The other one would be iTero records. This is the intraoral scanner that we usually use in our office to take 3D intraoral scanners of the upper and lower jaws. And that is the graphic picture that is actually the multiplication of small photographs of the teeth built into a 3D picture of the actual dentition in your mouth. An essential part of the consultation, I would say the biggest part and the golden standard for the examination for this type of treatment, is the CBCT, the cone beam computerized scan of the skull, and that has to include all the areas. It has to definitely include the maxilla, the mandible, and the base of the skull. The CT scans of the skull can have different areas, can be of a different size, but the one that actually works for the diagnosis and the treatment should include the cervical spine. It's on average from 3 to 7 cervical spines, depending on the computer tomography equipment. And it has to include the base of the skull for sure, because we are generating specific cephalometric images from the CT scan. It will definitely include the maxilla and the mandible, and it has to include some soft tissues as well. An essential part of this is the evaluation of the airways, which can only be done with this special software, which is usually embedded into the equipment and that goes with the equipment, and that measures the airways in several planes, which is the transverse plane, the actual plane that basically measures the space within the nasal cavity. The second dimension would be, so the first area is the nose. It usually measures the space within the nasal cavity. It has a very small relativity to the actual dimensions of the nose, the skinny part of the nose. But when we measure the size between the two bones within the nasal cavity itself. The second dimension would be the actual airway, which is the anterior posterior direction to the airway, built by two major structures, one being the back wall to the airway, which is the neck with the surrounding muscles, and the anterior wall to the airway would be the tongue and the soft palate. So that is a big part of our evaluation, and that is something that can be definitely altered with the orthodontic treatment. The major part that we are aiming at with our treatment, with MARPE treatment and MSC treatment, is the actual expansion of the nasal airway, of this physical dimension within the nasal cavity. So as you might know, the base of the nose, this bone right here, is the same bone as the roof of the mouth, and that is the palatal bone. By expanding and using MARPE, what we do, we actually split two bones, two halves of the maxilla, and we move them apart, and we create extra space, which will later be filled with the new growing bone. So basically what happens is that we split two bones and create an artificial fracture between those, and we keep that appliance in place while the new bone grows in. So that works as a cast with the actual fracture to the bone once it happens. So that is what you expect from the consultation. That is what we evaluate. We also do question you with our questions on sleep. We question you on the TMJ symptoms. We screen you with our specific TMJ screening equipment. We use the T-scan to evaluate your dentition, because we know that the impact of the bite, the actual bite arrangement has a direct relationship to the neck structures and the curvature of the neck and the tension and the tonus of the cervical muscles and the surrounding muscles of the head. So should you have any questions, we will be more than happy to answer those after your initial consultation. But basically, with the evaluation of all those records, you would receive a definitive answer to the question whether you are a good candidate for the MARPE expansion or not. Follow us on Instagram. It's Dr. Svetlana Koval, and it's Facebook, Dr. Svetlana Koval. We will be more than happy to answer any questions in the comments below.